I thought I would get in a few minutes early so we can have everyone coming in and we can start sharp at 4:30 as planned. So we are sharp at 4:30 and I think it's a good time for us to start. So I was just telling people who are joining to type in where they're listening from because I'm still trying to figure out a time zone that works for everyone. Yeah, hi, nice to see you as well. So I'm still trying to figure out a time zone that would work for everyone because most of my audience and subscribers are across. So it's like US, Hong Kong, India, and UK, and some more. So I'm still trying to figure out a time zone where it's not mid work or mid sleep for people and still okay for me as well. But yeah, so we're just experimenting a little bit with the time. All right. Thank you so much for joining. And today, I just want to say a big hi to whoever's new here and whoever are like regulars who've been here. Thank you for joining. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Urmila. I am an educator, writer, artist, and a creativity coach based in Hong Kong. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that is personal yet very universal. We're going to be talking about creativity. And we're going to talk about creativity not as a talent, but as a survival skill. I know I'm making it sound like, like an extreme thing, but I'll tell you with examples as to why I see creativity way beyond than just a talent and actually a life skill. Before we get into it, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, hi, Nimita. Hi. Thank you so much for joining. We just kind of started. So thank you for joining. Just type in where you're joining from. I just gave my intro and I was just telling them the topic that is, we're going to be talking about creativity, not just as a talent, but as a life skill. So before we get into the whole meat of the matter, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, I want you to rate what do you think? How creative are you on a scale of 1 to 5? Don't give me a number yet. Don't give me an answer yet. Just have this thought in your head. Have a think. Just keep it in your head. We'll come back to it later in life. So, when we think of creativity, let's start with what exactly is creativity. Now, if you look at it conventionally, if you think of it generationally, if you think of it conditionally, creativity is something that is very reserved for maybe artists, writers, musicians, songwriters. And I think we always see it as something very exclusive and also something very black and white. For example, you either are creative or you're not creative. But honestly, I kind of tend to beg to differ because I feel that creativity is like a muscle. All of us have it, and we just have to use it regularly to develop it. So that is what I feel creativity is. Let me illustrate with an example or some examples. Hi, Amit. Hi, Don. Thank you so much for joining. We just started with the intro, and I just asked the audience a question to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 5, how creative they are, 5 being the highest. Don't answer it yet. But we're going to come back to it a little later. And I was just, hi, Don, hi. Just type in and let me know where you're joining from. I'm very keen on, knowing what time works for everyone. So just type in where you're joining from. Okay, so we're talking about what is creativity. And I was going to say that creativity is so much more than just a talent. It's actually a life skill. May I say a survival skill? And I was giving some examples to illustrate it. So think of the time that you were probably cooking something, you were making a recipe or something, and you didn't really have, ingredients for that particular recipe. But then you substituted it with something else that was available in your fridge, and the recipe turned out just fine, or perhaps even better. Or maybe think of that time where you came up with a very good excuse to tell your boss to go for that holiday that you've been meaning to take for months. Or think of the time you took a detour to work because you knew that the road ahead would be blocked and you would be delayed. Or perhaps if you have kids or something, you maybe lied to your kid and said that, hey, Hulk dropped his green juice and that's why your omelet looks green, and made him or her eat their greens. So these are all different ways in which we use our creativity, but we don't really reckon it because it's something that comes naturally to us, and we don't really see how creative even those things are. So that's why I see creativity as problem solving, but with imagination. So that is creativity for you. And this realization didn't come to me like yesterday or today. It took me many years to realize that creativity is more than just a talent. And I think if I look back at my life, it is a testament to creativity being a survival skill. So I'm going to start with definitely the beginning of the beginning. I'm going to talk a little bit about my childhood. Don't worry, I'm not going to be trauma dumping on you. But if I look back at my childhood, I had I had to rely on my creativity so much because probably growing up, I didn't have the most pleasant environment at home. So when things would get really unpleasant or maybe out of my control, and you've got to do what you've got to do. So I would escape into the world of comics. I would eat comics, breathe comics, make comics. Like I would kind of always imagine that whatever's happening around me is not my reality. The comic that I'm reading is my reality. Hi, Susanna. Hi, Susanna. Thank you so much for joining. We're just like the beginning of beginning. Let us know where you're joining us from, because I'm trying to figure out a good time for everyone to, for these live sessions. So I'm talking about how creativity has been a survival skill in my childhood. So I even vividly remember to this day and age a scene from a comic where there is a fox and two rabbits eating mashed potatoes with gravy. And I'm imagining myself being part of that group because things were very unpleasant at home. So I knowingly or unknowingly was using my creativity to escape the situation that I was in and I didn't really have control over. So that's one example. Okay. Let's come to another example when I first moved to Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong, I had visited Hong Kong when I think in 2011 as a tourist, and I was floored by the city. What a gorgeous place, right? But when I moved here, I packed my bags and moved here in 2017. I learned it the worst way possible that visiting a place as a tourist and actually living there are like galaxies apart, and not in the best way. For the first time in my life, I felt so ignored, so invisible, um, questioning my self-worth by the minute. And, I honestly thought, I still remember it was the winters of 2017. And I had myself thinking that, is this what depression feels like? So that was like a very, very dark patch of my life. And at that time, I was heavily into urban sketching. Now, for those of you who don't know what urban sketching is basically you go to a location and you sketch the location live. I was doing a lot of that during that time. And I remember documenting the neighborhood that we lived in, different places in Hong Kong through my urban sketching. And through these urban sketches, I managed to have my first solo exhibition in Hong Kong in 2018. So from 2017 winters to 2018 solo exhibition, that was quite the jump because that solo exhibition was called a surreal sorry face that I know. I know. Thank you so much for your concern. Yes. But we're through it. We're going to be talking. I'm giving these examples to show and showcase why creativity has been a life skill for me. So when I had that solo exhibition in 2018, there were local people who came to buy my artwork, to support my exhibition, to, be part of my experience. And I still remember the exhibition was called A Surreal Glimpse of Hong Kong Through My Eyes, because I couldn't believe that the place that I felt like nothing, and I was holding a solo exhibition like 8, 9 months later, and I was featured in the local media, and that was honestly a very surreal experience for me. So that was one thing. Now, my degree didn't help me there, my working experience didn't help me there. What helped me was my creativity. So that is another example for you. Then let's talk professionally. When I did move to Hong Kong, I had already been teaching in international universities back home. I had adequate university teaching experience. So when I thank you, Namita, thank you. So when I first came to Hong Kong, and they said that, okay, fine, you need to have like a bridging course because you are not really eligible to teach in schools. Fair enough. That's a fair ask because I had all university teaching experience. Hi, Anjali. Thanks for joining. I know you're traveling. Thanks so much for making the time. So I had university teaching experience, but they wanted what I was wanting to teach in schools. So they told me you have to do like a bridging course, which is fair. I did the bridging course. It was an intense, aggressive course that took a toll on my health, on my mental health. The course was expensive, right? I spent my time, money, health on it. At the end of the course, hold, lo and behold, the HR of the organization tells me, and I'm quoting this, Urmila, we won't be able to give you certain experiences, certain opportunities because schools prefer Caucasians for these positions. Some schools prefer Caucasians for these positions. And I was like, you could have told me this when I was, before I was joining the course, not after I've spent my time, money, and health and drained all of it, in this course. So, and this was 2017. It wasn't like some, centuries ago. This was 2017. And I was harshly made aware of the systemic bias and how helpless I felt during that point in time. And I had no choice but to take up projects whatever came in my way, and I did such a bloody good job at it that the same people who had said that we wouldn't be able to give you these opportunities started asking for me because schools were requesting me to take those teaching assignments. So that's another example for you. Then, while things were slowly settling in, came the experience that we all experienced, right? The global pandemic, right? We all experienced this. The magnitude was surely different. Some experienced it a little more extremely. Some of us experienced it a little differently, but we all experienced it. Thanks, Nimita. So we all experienced it in our own way. Now, during the pandemic, situation in Hong Kong was still okay because we did have stringent measures. Hi, Hema. Thank you so much for joining. We're kind of mid-talk, but I'm so happy that you've joined. Please do type in where you're watching or listening from because I'm trying to figure out a common time zone, which works for many. So, so I was talking about the pandemic. And during the pandemic, while things in Hong Kong were a little stringent, we did have like a longer quarantine and all of that stuff. But the positive side of that was it gave me the downtime to be with myself. It gave me a lot of time, and it gave me a break from that hustle culture. Like Hong Kong has like a mad hustle culture. No matter what you're doing, no matter how much you're working, no matter how much you're earning, you're always gonna feel left behind. That's Hong Kong for you. So that hustle culture, this was a welcome break from that hustle culture. So I created a lot of art during that time. I remember everyone's mental health had gone for a toss. So I was working a lot and creating a lot on mental health artwork, mixed media artwork. I was collaborating with artists around the world because everyone was, holed up in their homes. So everyone was open for opportunities like these. And you would not believe, during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to exhibit few of my pieces from this series, from this mental health series, in the Victoria Hall of Fame in London. This was something very unbelievable. This was something very, again, very surreal. It, again, did not come from my qualification or my working experience, and it was truly a gift through my creativity or how creatively I decided to deal with the situation. But then things also started getting really bad in India. Like in India, the death rates, the news that we were getting, I mean, it was beyond depressing. Like every other day I would hear, a classmate's dad who has passed away, or maybe some friend is no more. Like the news was so freaking depressing. Like I had also not seen my parents for 2 years. And I really wanted to do something for the COVID situation in India. And I was like, I'm an educator, I'm an artist, but what can I do? But sometimes when the cause is bigger than your imposter syndrome, then you decide to take some action. And I decided to host my first ever art fundraiser. So I decided to put up my pieces online, and anyone and everyone could buy it, paying whatever they can. And all the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds, would go to a COVID relief NGO in India. And you will not believe I managed to raise about 6,000 something Hong Kong dollars. I know it's not a very huge amount, but it was a huge amount for me. It was also a big kind of a validation stamp on when you want to do something and you have the right intentions, things usually do fall in place. Because again, you will not believe what I'm going to say next. So South China Morning Post is a very popular local media here. They did a video and a print feature on my art fundraiser for COVID relief in India. And I think that experience, so since art is such an experience where we always feel, never enough, we're always questioning whether we're doing any good because it's not very tangible. It's not very tangible, right? Like, for example, when you're doing a job, you get a promotion, you get a salary. But when you're in the creative field, there is no set path, there is no set remuneration. So you're always wondering, like, what am I doing? Do I know what I'm doing? So this was a very good validation of using my art for the greater good. So again, it was just me getting creative with the situation that was dealt with me and using my creativity for the greater good. So again, creativity as a survival skill, creativity as something way beyond your talent kind of thing that we talk about. Now, while this was happening professionally, I managed to secure, sort of the dream job in the teaching industry here in Hong Kong. It is being a native English teacher through the Education Bureau of Hong Kong. On paper, it's a fab job, okay? The pay is good. It checks all the boxes. The pay is good. You've got good perks. You're well respected and all of that. I got that. But 4 years into that teaching job, it became unbearably toxic. Unbearably toxic. I was also simultaneously doing my second postgraduate degree at that point in time. So, managing a full time toxic job with a very hectic and demanding, post graduation degree together, I thought I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I was having bad anxiety. My health wasn't good. I had aches and pains that wouldn't go anywhere. And this was Feb 2024. And that is the time that I started my Substack. I clearly remember this. Feb 2024 is when I started my Substack. I started writing about creative wellness because I had discovered creative journaling. Now, creative journaling is basically a mix of scrapbooking and, junk journaling and written journaling. So it's something that you do with your hands. It's very cathartic. It's very tactile. It was so helpful for me to release my anxiety. I remember I would come back from my day job, go to the university in the evening, come back late, and I would sit up late, on my bed with all my journal pages and stickers and all of that, and I would make a spread because that's the only thing that was calming me down at that point in time. And I was feeling that if this can calm me down, someone who is so anxious, who is going through such a rough patch, I was 1,000,000% sure that it would help others as well. So if you see my initial Substack articles, it's a lot to do with creative wellness because I was writing articles that someone like me would like to read when they're going through a bad time. And I was featuring stories from the local community. I was, people were sharing their experiences with burnout, with imposter syndrome, and all these other toxic work culture, all these other topics. And it was so full circle and so wholesome that people were feeling comfortable to share their stories so that others could be inspired. So that was a very nice community building moment in the initial months of my Substack. And from there, I started, having I started hosting these creative journaling workshops, which were like in person, and people were enjoying that kind of space where they could all sit together and interact with the community of like-minded people and create things. But then, when I was doing these creative journaling workshops, I noticed that it's very resource heavy. Like, you need a lot of stuff, you need a lot of supplies, and unless and until it's like laid out to you by probably an organizer like me, I don't think you would actually go out and do this by yourself unless and until you're very passionate about it. So while all these things are not a replacement for therapy, because I did take therapy in 2022, I knew my issues, I knew my problem, but these are things that you can do on a regular basis to regulate yourself on a daily basis, So these are like life skills. So I noticed that creative journaling is very resource heavy. And when there's a friction, people will not do it. So in a matter of few months, I discovered something called as illustrated journaling, which is what I teach nowadays. So it's basically very low on resources. It can be done on the go. It can be your travel partner. It can be your, office buddy when, maybe you're traveling on the metro and you can, note down your day, or you can even doodle your day. So that's what illustrated journaling is all about. And I think that is something that really caught on with my Substack readers and so many people all over the world that I started a four-part workshop, and tomorrow is the final round for the first cohort that's graduating, and the next batch is already filling up. So this is like the illustrated journaling sessions that we're doing, and it's so much fun to see how people are coming back to themselves, how they're coming back to their creativity. So I think it's a very rewarding experience for me as a host as well. So yeah, like, these are, I think, enough experiences and enough examples for you to know that creativity is something that's so much beyond what we give it credit for, like maybe an exhibition, maybe an art competition, maybe something pretty on your paper. It's a life skill. And the sooner we realize it and the sooner we harness into it, I think the more helpful it can be. Now, the question that I really want to talk about is, how can we be creative? Like, if you're not someone who has touched pen and paper, probably after primary school or something, how can you? Yeah. So, we have a similar question. How does one start their creative journey? Yeah. So, for this, I would give you a top tier tip. Start small and start something that you can do regularly. By this, it means, yeah, yes, thank you, Anjali. Anjali is from the first group that we had our workshops with. Yeah, thank you so much. And so basically, if you want to get back to your creativity, the tip that I would give is to engage and indulge in the art of noticing. What I mean by this: tomorrow, when you're going to work, or perhaps even today, why wait for tomorrow? When you're coming back from work, perhaps, don't be on your phone, unplug your ears, and just notice all the things that catch your attention. This is a huge, huge hint and a clue to what catches your attention. Hi, Adrika. Hi, we're almost towards the end, but thank you so much for joining. So this will give you a huge hint as to what is your taste. Because, for example, if I might go out, I might notice perhaps maybe the shape of clouds, or maybe I notice a silhouette of a foliage, or maybe I notice how the water shimmers when the sunlight falls on it. But when you go out and notice something, probably you notice the shape of a car, or you notice the facade of a building, or probably you notice how a doorway looks. So starting today, or maybe starting tomorrow, start noticing what catches your attention. And 100% tip is to note it some way or the other. Perhaps you can just note it on your notes app, or maybe you can just scribble it in a small sketchbook that you carry, but note it down in some or the other way. Keep it very less demanding, because the lesser the friction, the more chances that you will do it. So have it written somewhere, have it, scribble somewhere, note it down somewhere. Do this for perhaps a week, and then you will start noticing patterns on what catches your attention. And that's your clue to what is your taste in creativity. What is something that makes you, like, catches your attention? What's something that gives you joy? What's something that puts a smile on your face? So these are all different cues and hints that you would be able to know that, okay, fine. So I really like nature. So perhaps you can explore something in that direction. Or if you're a very auditory person, you probably notice the sound of birds. So probably that's something that you can explore further. So indulge and engage in the art of noticing. That's my top tip to start your journey back to creativity and to yourself eventually. Now, I think I have said what I have to say. And I want to say that I want to make these weekly lives, I want to make them weekly. So the next live that we'll be having is going to be on the topic, a very common, popular topic: how to use your imposter syndrome as your fuel. Okay. That's going to be our next topic for the live that's happening next week. The day and the time, I'll definitely post it. You can keep a lookout for it. If you have any questions for today's live, you can send me. If you have any questions for that topic, you can send me as well. I would be more than happy to answer them. So I think imposter syndrome is, I think, like, I honestly feel like creativity and imposter syndrome, they're like Siamese twins. One does not exist without the other. And I kind of have found a workaround to deal with my imposter syndrome to actually take action. I would love to share with all of you and perhaps, help you take that action that you've been wanting to take. So that's the plan for the next live. And I am so, so, so super grateful for all of you who joined today. And thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, do send it to me. I'd be more than happy to answer them. I also hope that you had a good time listening to all the experiences that I shared, and it inspires you to use your creativity muscle and make it stronger, and yeah, make your day. Keeps creeping up at the wrong time and uninvited. I agree, Dimita, and I really hope that I can come up with some tips for you to work your way around. There's no doing away with imposter syndrome. Oh, thank you, Dawn. Thank you so much. I was very apprehensive about sharing my story because I don't know. It's so personal. It's so vulnerable that I was not sure, but I was like, I have to do this. How else am I going to convince people to, that creativity is a survival skill? Like, I'm a living example of it. So if I don't share my story, I don't be honest, I don't think I can, share this. I can't prove this point. So yeah, and we'll be talking about imposter syndrome next week. And all the topics that I want to talk about are going to be related to creativity. So I want to do creativity and communication. That's also something that I've worked extensively in. Thank you so much, Don. Lots of hearts to you as well. Yeah, so that's it from my end. And I am super grateful for all of you who joined today. And I hope you learned something. I hope these experiences kind of lit a bulb in your head. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next live. Stay tuned and send me any questions, any comments you have. I would love to answer them for you. And see you and take care. Bye bye. Stay curious. Bye.